to the cloud. Okay. Okay, here we go. I met everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, we still have people joining, but Lisa, if you want to
Sure.
welcome
Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Opert. I'm a parent consultant with CPAC, or Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. And I'm here with Leona. Let me see, where do I, right there.
Hi, good morning, everybody. We still have people in the waiting room, so we're just getting everybody in. We're also preparing to go on Facebook Live, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. We're very excited, though, that so many of you are here this morning so that we can have a conversation, since today is going to be a little more laid back, and we're just going to talk about what's going on right now.
Just a little bit about us. We are both Connecticut Parent Advocacy Parent Consultants, which means that we are the people you talk to when you call us. So if you go in the queue, we could call you back. It could be us. I think there's, how many people do we have now? 14 people that work in the office. So we're just two. But what's really amazing about CPAC is that all of us are parents of children with disabilities. So we really understand when you call us with a frustration or a concern, we most likely have had it or something very similar. So a little bit about me. I am a former teacher. I taught in New Haven for 10 years. I have 4 children, 2 of which have IEPs. My oldest is 10 and has dyslexia and epilepsy. And then I have an 8-year-old who's just a wild child. And then I have a pair of 5-year-old twins, Milo and Hattie, who are 5. And Milo has an autism diagnosis. And he is hilarious. And he has no ability to care what you think, which I love about him, because he is just who he is and is unapologetic about it all the time. And what's cool about this is that Leona has kids the opposite age, so we're really covered in birth to 3 all the way up. So Leona, you want to tell us about your kids?
So, like Lisa said, you know, I do think that one of the great things about CPAC is the fact that we have that personal relationship with everybody is going through, because we are parents of children with disabilities. So I have 3 boys on the where Lisa leaves off. So I have a 13-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 17-year-old. They're evenly spaced. They all change their birthdays on when the first one turns the next age, because I can't do that odd, but like everybody's got to be 2 years apart. So we're middle school through high school. We have a son we have 2 kids on an IEP and 1 on a 504. So my either ends have the IEP, and my middle son has a 504. So we're in the process of going through transition with my oldest. He is ADHD, and he's more inattentive than hyperactive, but he does have severe anxiety, as well as some social emotional concerns. He is a chronic absenteeism. So he is like the poster child for chronic absenteeism. So anytime we talk about that in the state, I'm like, I got that. And just so we're clear, even during this time, it is really hard for him to still get to where he needs to be. Transitions are very, very difficult for him. With that being said, he was actually tested for autism many times. My middle son just has a 504, not just a 504, but he has some sight concerns and some anxiety. And then my youngest, he's my alphabet soup. He's the one I probably talk about the most. He has a little of a lot of things. So he is severely dyslexic. He was diagnosed at 4.5 years old. This is very young. So it just shows the severity of his dyslexia. We have finally seen some growth, but not a ton. So homeschooling is definitely a difficult thing. He does have autism and a genetic disorder, as well as developmental coordination disorder. Those are like his primary things that affect his everyday living. So we're really excited that you're here today. And we're hoping that maybe, Lisa, what are we hoping they're going to share with us today?
So we're hoping that you guys, so we want to be a place where You know, we have lots of information to share with you. If you have any questions, we could always talk about things, but we want to more check in with parents and see how they're doing in this time. See what you need from us specifically, whether it be, you know, strategies, whether it just be supports, whether it be you hearing that you're not the only one who is really struggling. And we'd love to hear from anything that you guys need for support. We're going to be here every Thursday at 3 o'clock. We're going to switch because all of our kids have meetings at 10. Does anybody else kids have meetings at 10? It's like the time of like the apocalypse in our house. Like everything is like, wah! So my husband is downstairs currently on all those things. So let's hope my kids are on the things as well. But I think this is one of those times where there's a lot more parent guilt because we are 1,000 different roles at this point. And we just wanted to check in and see what you guys need from us. We're really happy to be here, and we're really happy to give as much support as possible, because I feel like this distance learning is hard for everybody, but it's astronomically difficult for us and our kids, and figuring out how to even modify the things that we're given. So we'd like to know what you guys want, what you need, or how we can support you.
Anybody, you can unmute yourselves if you have a question. Just go ahead and unmute yourself if you have a comment. Hold on, Barbara. I see you talking. Hold on. I'll unmute you.
Okay.
All right, there you go.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. I'm so glad that you have this Zoom meeting set up. And I'm a birth to 3 service provider. I have 2 boys, and they do not have a diagnosed disability. They're 18 years old. And the reason for me joining is because I have so many families that are struggling with this time, especially the families that have children who are in elementary school or, you know, in school, and they're trying to juggle everything. And I find that, you know, when I've asked them to join CPAC, I love CPAC. Thank you so much for everything you do. All us birth to 3 providers really love the support that you give to families. So I find with a lot of families I work with, they're hesitant, you know, to make that first step. So when I can bring more information to them, and I notice when I'm enthusiastic, and I get really enthusiastic when I talk to somebody, you know, like at CPAC or some of the community agencies, then the parents are more likely to follow through or take that first step. So I'm here to, you know, hear more about what's going on and what other parents are experiencing, so I can share that with my parents, and they can feel like that maybe they really can make that connection. It's not just something they're feeling and wish they could reach out to somebody for. You know, I can give them that concrete, you know, I heard, you know, other parents have the same issue.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I'm going to go get my coffee so I don't keep running.
Absolutely. So what is really, so we have this program called Family Connections through with the Birth to 3, we kind of partnered with them. And I talked to, I think it's 36 families that I'm connected to. And so what I do is I try to reach out every 6 to 8 weeks and just see how Birth to 3 is going, see what are the questions, and have them be able to talk to a parent who's been through Birth to 3. Milo was diagnosed with autism at a little bit after 2. And so we did the, you know, Birth to 3 program, then we switched to an autism specific, and then we did all the whole transition process out. I sometimes make some videos of what we're doing with Milo in this time of kind of figuring out how to be practicing the skills, but in our everyday life, not building more stress onto ourselves. But the biggest thing that I think people are taking away are that baking with your kids, learning turn taking, playing outside. We make obstacle courses like every other day, and they're made out of like weird stuff we find in our yard. So it could be made out of jumping over sticks, or if you can collect 10 sticks, it's kind of like cleaning up our yard too. Little things that just make it so that they're following directions. I mean, I think that that's the biggest regression we've seen here is following direction and behavior. So we're trying to do it through play so they don't realize that they're kind of being molded into these good little listeners. And just really trying to, like, we're facilitating letter stuff and numbers and things, but very minimally. Our biggest success that we've had that's so generic and such a generic idea is that we throw shaving cream on every counter in our house, and that's how we practice letters and name writing. And we've practiced shapes that way. We've practiced, putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots, doing how many more? We're starting to do like adding circles out. So just, I think parents have this idea that they have to be so structured and sitting in front of a screen or sitting with a pencil in hand. I can't tell you how many times I've had pencils like tossed across the room since this has happened, just because our kids, we're not typically our kids' academic teacher. We're the teacher of kindness and acceptance and love and safety. So us going in and putting academic demands on our kids I think can be really hard. So I think putting it into your regular activities as much as possible has decreased our level of stress of feeling like I need to be able to click on that, what is it, Google Classroom, I think that we're using, being able to click mark it done or turned in. Like,
that's my favorite button.
It's the most stressful button. I got an email this morning like something wasn't turned in, and I was like, oh, I haven't turned in anything for that kid this week. It's only Wednesday. I feel like by Friday I turned in all those things. But I think parents need to realize that this is hard for us. This is hard for our kids. Our teachers are struggling trying to figure out how to do this best for our kids. And just, I found for my preschooler, because Milo's still in preschool. So my preschoolers turned 5 in February. So they start kindergarten in the fall. So we're still very much in that preschool play-through learning, really very birth to 3 based, what we learned when we were in birth to 3, about facilitating play and learning. And we kind of almost do like a Denver model of play at our house still. So I don't know if that really helped or answered the question, but that's how we're kind of de-stressing. And I'd be happy to talk to any families in birth to 3 about how we're doing it, or even send them a video of like me and Milo playing and showing how it happens. My 8-year-old thinks he's a director. So he walks around just taking videos of us all the time on my iPhone, which are embarrassing.
Lisa,
have my hair brushed even.
We can even do it as a topic, because we're going to do these, like we said, every Thursday, but we're going to move to 3 because we think it'll be easier for families and everybody involved, including us. As I look at the clock and know one of my kids is not on with his case manager right now. So I'll leave you out of the yelling of it, and we'll miss today and reschedule. But with that being said, like for birth to 3, I have 2 kids that went through birth to 3. My kids are older, but I am, Lisa is hopefully going to be on the ICC soon. I am on the ICC, I'm the parent vice chair. So we're very interested in connecting with birth to 3 families and talking to them and hearing how the experience is going. That is very valuable information to us as we go through this. So Barbara, please, anybody else, encourage them on. We can have a birth to 3 conversation. We'll be happy to one day. So we'll write it down as one of our topics. But share with us too what the families are going through. And as Lisa was sharing her story, it kind of, we were talking about different things and what does it look like right now as we go through everything. I think one of the things, like Lisa said, we're not the academic provider. So that makes me think about what I say at every single PPT I've ever had with my son once he got into middle school was, I'm not doing his homework. So if it is not independent work, I am not doing it. And I was so adamant about it, right? Make sure this work is what he can do. It is independent work. And now all of a sudden I have to force him to do this work that he hates to do so much. And it's definitely a huge struggle. If he didn't do his homework in before, there was penalties, there was consequences at school, and that was something he would have to pay. But now he has to do it. you know, and like I said, is with dyslexia, he's, even with all the accommodations and assistive technology and everything else, you know, it's a struggle. He doesn't want to do it. One of the things was, I think after 2 weeks, I was like, the teachers were like, well, he's not answering my emails. And I said, well, it doesn't read to him in his emails. And I don't have time to read 15 emails a day to him. And I actually started replying, and this is going to be put up on Facebook, so I apologize to the teachers, but I did write, this is his secretary at one point, because I was so frustrated. But we came back, and the OT, our assistive technology person at the school, came back with a program. When I expressed my concerns in a not snarky way, but really did express my concern, they said, oh, here, we got this program, and you know, just installed it so that his emails would be read to him. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if we just talk through this process, we feel so frustrated and overwhelmed sometimes, but if we do reach out to the schools, sometimes the solution might really be there. And in my my first thought process, the reason I didn't was because I thought, well, if you had it, he should have already had it, right? I mean, he has email, and if he can't read, he is at a second, third grade level in seventh grade. So if he can't read and he has this accommodation, then if they had it, he should have already had it. Like, that was my philosophy. So I was thinking they didn't have it. So we're learning a lot of things, and we're learning things that we didn't think about in the past, right? Because my son didn't need to rely on email. That's why we didn't think about it. We didn't need to rely on it. We had a para, we had supports in the classroom. You know, we had the para support in the classroom. We had a case manager. We had all of these people around that helped with things. So I think during this process, we're learning a lot. And as his frustrations level rise, as well as our own, sometimes we have to take a step back and think about, what can we do? Is there a solution to the problem? Let's reach out to the school and tell them, to the case manager or whatever, and see what the problem is, talk about it, see what happens. Yesterday, we decided to implement a schedule with my son. And we've kind of had a schedule, but not like, we knew what he had to do every day, but not like formalized. And he woke up today and he took the schedule and he was like, okay, I have an hour till, it's been great. He's currently on a break because that's what it says for him. I don't think he'll make it back in time. We'll see, but he's doing it. And so hopefully this will continue. So sometimes it's like the simplest little things. I was like, oh, he's fighting us tooth and nail. Is the schedule really going to work? But got him out of bed and I'm focused today. So maybe that's the thing. Does anybody else want to share something that maybe they're experiencing right now? A frustration, a concern, a question? You can unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat.
We have the schedule that we have at our house. We have like one of those Google things that show you pictures of your family. It kind of travels through, and we have alarms set to it. And all my kids do is scream stop at it. That's all they do, because they're like, stop. And we're like, Mom, no, we're totally on schedule. And all of a sudden I look and it's like the opposite. It's not the hour of work time. It's the 20 minutes of break time that they're working the 20 minutes in the break for the hour. Because mostly they are, because I'm either taking calls or doing work. So it's always kind of funny. They're like, don't worry, we'll get it done. But some days we don't, and that's okay.
One of the frustrations that we've had with my youngest is the level of work, where his ability level is, and the grade level. There's such a significant gap that they do a wonderful job modifying when we're in a classroom setting and he's in a really inclusive setting. But it's very hard to mimic that at home, to do it here. So he has had a lot of struggles with really that. And this is the first year too, where he's actually noticed differences between him and everybody else. We're very lucky that we made it to like the end of 7th grade before that happened. But he is really struggling with this piece right now. So not being in a classroom setting with his peers, and he socializes well within the school, but not outside of the school. So he's also lost all of his socialization and everything. But one of the biggest things though is the level of work. So a lot of his work is like second grade-ish level. In his opinion, it's kindergarten-ish. This is recorded, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The other day he was doing one and he was very angry. And I said to him, you know, we just have to get through it. And he goes, this is so babyish. And he's so frustrated. He's very snarky and I have no idea where he gets it from. And he says to me, that guy looks like he should not even be allowed near a school. And they're making me watch the video. And it was some singing Silent E little cartoon, and that's his frustration level. So when we made his schedule and I put pictures on it, he said, they put pictures on it again? I said, no, mommy put the pictures on it. And I said, because I thought it would be easier for you. So he says, well, I think that you should do a theme every day and come up with new pictures. So it's just kind of funny of where maybe they're getting the feedback from. Like, so if the school's giving it to him, he seems agitated. If I'm giving him an accommodation that would be easier for him because the visual schedule is easier than reading the schedule, he was okay with it. And so, you know, we're working with the case manager, what's going to come from them and what's going to come from us. But really, we're talking on a regular basis to make this decision. So again, I've said it before, and Lisa too, it's reaching out to who's there if you can.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a call with Milo's speech pathologist, OT, and his special education teacher every Tuesday at 12. I've only missed 2. There's only been, I think, 6, so that's not very good ratios. But it's literally me saying, hey, this is what's working, this is what's not. And this week I said I can't take any more things that I have to print for him to cut out, or him to label, or like there's just some things that are just not where he's at, and it's not fair, because for where we're at, our relationship is my priority, and his happiness is my priority because he's so little still. And I had to say to them, him struggling with this and me putting these new demands on him is really interfering with that. And I think they really respected the fact that I was like, no, like my priority is my kid, not necessarily he's going to have these skills. There's going to be regression anyway. So if we're looking at it, I'm going to do the skill, practice the skills as much as possible in a way that's fun and functional, as opposed to pencil and paper. Because, I mean, I don't know if he would really be doing that in the classroom as much as I think is expected right now. But so just being open, talking really honestly, kindly, you know, not being like, this is total garbage, because I've seen some parents do that as well, which I understand the frustration. We're all frustrated, but we have to, you know, just keep an open.
If you're frustrated, you can reach out to us, because
call us. We have parents call us and just yell at us about stuff all the time. And by the end of it, we're like, all right, you okay? And they're like, yeah, I feel way better. Thanks for listening. You know, I mean, I think it's probably like 30% of my calls are parents that start out with yelling.
And we do it to each other. We do it to each other, right, Lisa? Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Amy, what's up?
I'm a speech pathologist and a mom of a kid with a 504. So it's that balance of what is necessary to keep them going and moving forward, but also knowing that parents are overwhelmed, and, you know, should I assign another seesaw activity if they haven't done their first one? Like, you know, do they want it? Do they need it? Do they expect it? Or are they going over the edge if I give them one more thing to do? Because I know my kid is going over the edge with, you know, those extra things.
And I appreciate you thinking about, before you give something to somebody or before you assign someone, you're thinking like, hey, they didn't get to do it last week. Do I give them another one? So that it's almost like the piling up of things can just be a really overwhelming thing to say, like when I sign on to Google Classroom, and that's the I don't remember what it's called, but it's just like the flow of all the things that we haven't done that are not turned in. That stresses me out. So I, as a parent, really appreciate you not giving any more if we haven't been able to do the ones before.
I actually feel bad when parents are handing in things now from the beginning of April. I'm like, oh, just let it go. It's okay.
Oh yeah. And the speech stuff, we've actually been really happy with our speech stuff because it's, I think it's like booms we've been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do them and he has fun doing them and we'll talk about them. Milo just started talking last year. And now all he talks about is like this, my favorite new thing, our favorite quarantine food is Milo discovered cheeseburgers about a month before quarantine, but he discovered egg and cheeses on a hamburger roll because we ran out of white bread. And so now he calls them egg burgers. So now any like time he sees like a cheeseburger or anything like that, he's just decided to make every food that's in a bun an egg burger. So it's our new, so one of the things in Boom was it was like a meal of some sort. And he said, oh, egg cheeseburger, an egg burger. And so we had to go make them.
There's a fun game on ABC that you can build. I think it's building hamburgers. So like it could be a reinforcer for them for getting stuff done. Well, you can, if you finish 5 things, then you can put your next topping on your burger. Something.
Oh,
like that.
that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. ABC. Yeah. As I write it down.
And I should probably add that as Amy shared, and Barbara, I'm sure you'll have plenty of things to share too, is that sharing some of the things that you're doing or whether you're doing it with your own kids or you're a provider or as a service provider of any kind, related services and everything, because parents right now, we're used to, first of all, birth of 3, we're used to coming into our home and kind of demonstrating. And now we don't have that. So now we are trying to manage our child and learn at the same time. But other service providers as well, is that we're trying to, like sharing those ideas gets it flowing for people like, oh, that's awesome for Lisa, because this applies to her. And I always go back to, we talk about behaviors and the first and then, and is it Milo that was the mammoths? Because I don't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
He likes woolly mammoths, and like that always like sticks in my head now. Every time I see one, that's who I think of. And but just kind of sharing some of those ideas and resources that are out there, that is our goal of these meetings. And like I said, sometimes we'll have topics, but sometimes it'll just be a conversation style that we're here for, and hopefully we can support each other through this new time. And we don't want everything to be about COVID. It's an overwhelming process. We want to talk about the everyday norms. And so Lisa said many times throughout today is we made it functional in our house, or everyday functional, or whatever the case may be. So we were talking yesterday, and I said my son had stayed up all night. He had made a board game, and he's
So cool.
yeah, he took out a poster board that I was going to use for Happy Birthday Parade, but he made it into his big board game, and he was playing it with my husband yesterday, which was the first time I watched, and he made it so that everybody could play at the same time, right? Because he's not a very good wait for turn person. Right? He likes constant. So in his game, everybody has to play at the same time. Well, he had all these dice. And so my husband has like this box of like all these like 6-sided, 20-sided, 10-sided like dice, right? All these different dice. And so they roll like a handful at the same time, like the same number. And then you have to add it up. And so I thought to myself, I'm like, this kid just made a math game. Like he made a game, and he's sitting there, and it's only going up to either 6 or 10, right? So he can handle that level of counting. He's got the paper, he's counting it, and sometimes he has to use a calculator, which he brought to the table as part of the game. So he brought his technology into it. And there was a place where you had to buy things for your people, and so we had money involved, and he created this whole thing. And I thought to myself, that was so much better than iReady. Because like he told me he knows how many sides a triangle has. But I watched him, and even though he used the calculator, but that is an accommodation for him. Yeah. So he was using his accommodations, and he built this great thing. So I think thinking outside of the box was and again, I talked to Lisa yesterday, who was like, wow, that's so creative. And I was like frustrated because he was up all night creating this game. I was frustrated. She was like, oh, it's so creative. And after we were done talking, and I went and sat and watched them play, and I could really see some of the skills, the school skills.
It's hard to design a board game.
that he was
you have to
using.
really start from the end. Like, how do you win? That's the first thing you have to figure out, like your theme and how do you win. We used to do that as like the big end of the year project in my classroom. I taught 4th and 5th grade. And that was like our big end of the year project because there was so much involved. There were so many different concepts involved. So the fact that he did it all in a night, even though he's, didn't get a nice sleep. That's not There's plenty of time to sleep now. So
yeah, but and that's when kids, parents too, that's another struggle that we have because, our kids might have challenging behaviors during this time because of the change. Their sleep patterns might be off. So some parents, like myself, may be sleeping with one eye open because my kids are very upset with me right now because I'm so overtired and they're never sleeping that when I'm screaming all the time, like you could walk up right now and I would just scream because I'm like, that hyper sense of awareness. So they're like, Mom, calm down. But
patients are definitely being pushed. But
yeah, so I think all of those things. So I hope you guys enjoyed today. And does anybody have any closing remarks or anything, again, that they want to share?
And you can reach out to us. You can email us at CPAC. You can find all our emails and things like that.
Check out our website. Check out our Facebook pages. We do have our regular Connecticut Parent Advocacy Center. It's spelled out, Connecticut spelled out. We have CPAC resources. Is that it?
There's like a family resource page now.
Yeah.
That's fairly new. There's a family connections page too, Barbara. Specifically for family connections families. And if you wanted to reach out, my email is just Opert, LOPERT @cpacinc.org.
Lisa, why don't you go put it in the chat?
Oh yeah, I will.
So that people can see it. I'll put mine there as well. And then we also have for families that are either Spanish speaking or want to reach out, we have a Spanish parent support every day from 1 to 2. Yeah,
it's every day. So it's
every day.
And Keo runs it, and she's really funny. And
yeah, she's great.
Interesting and keeps it really light.
And then we also have they have a outreach call at 4 p.m. on Wednesdays with a specific guest. Usually, again, that's in Spanish. On Tuesdays at 10 a.m., we will still have our English outreach calls with different topics every week. And our Thursdays will now be pushed to 3 p.m. with Lisa and I, and they'll be longer than 20 minutes. Right, Lisa? So we're going to cover just a little bit more and be able to, and our topics will be similar to those in the Spanish speaking so that we're accessing the same things for everybody.
So thank you so much for coming out today or staying in.
I'm just going to answer real quick. Amy says she can't find where the topics are listed for different outreach calls. Currently, our month of May is not out because we had a change and we had to, and we canceled Tuesdays due to some security concerns. So we are in the process of redoing May's right now, and then they're posted every week on the CPAC page, on the Facebook page. Are you on Facebook? Because I think it might be on our website as well. It also goes out via email, so if you've signed up for our newsletter, you should be getting them that way too. If you're not, reach out to us so we can make sure that you got on there. But it will say this week at CPAC and upcoming next week at CPAC. So anybody else? All right, I see Barbara talking. There we go. Are you talking to us, Barbara?
Yeah, I want to add one more comment, something. So not Lisa, but can you tell me your name again? It's just coming up as CPAC.
Leona. Yeah, Leona. I'm the host. That's why it's there, CPAC.
Okay. And then I wanted to go back to one thing that you said, Leona, quickly about, reaching out to the school and, we make assumptions on both ends, right? So, I think it's so important for families, like with that email example that you gave, right? And by reaching out and talking to your school, whoever that contact is, and having that conversation, it is so important. I think it's great that you reach out to them because sometimes, teachers just don't think of it, they don't think they have something available, and they are sometimes told that they don't have it available. But if you have a conversation and you have the right teacher, then, you know, she will reach out or he will reach out and see if they can do something. And that's, you know, what happened with you, Leona. And I'm so glad to hear that.
Oh, everything isn't always perfect, right? Because it's give and take when we do all of this, especially during this time. But I'm very lucky for my school team. They're really wonderful. I feel very blessed that my son's para is still working with him. Not in every class, but she checks in every day and has a conversation, and they choose a topic to work on. I'm very, very lucky. But with that being said, sometimes we still have hiccups. So I agree. I would have never known. And we're experiencing different things right now. So we see different things. Like I said, I would have assumed that if there was something there, he would have already had it. But after thinking about it, I realized and said, he isn't using his email.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
To him, so he doesn't need to use his email. Yeah. So sometimes we have to stop and we have to think and we have to, you know, see different things that work or don't work. And, you know, a topic that we can definitely talk about in the future that I know is of interest to some people is, you know, this whole Zoom, Google Classroom video learning is really hard for some kids. It's a different type of engagement. So how do we do it? How do we keep them involved? How do we keep them engaged? And so I know that's on our radar for a topic in the future. But Barbara, thank you. It was nice to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys.
Great to reach it. Like I can't pinpoint it, but I think it might have been service coordination.
Oh.
I was going to say, you look very familiar to me too.
Right?
Yeah, I feel like I heard you at the Birth to 3 at the LOB.
Yeah, Lisa was there.
Yeah.
Were you there with Milo?
Oh yes, that's what I did. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I had 4 kids with me, all 4 of them. They
Oh,
were
you had all
on the side.
You did a really good job, I heard.
I thought my kids all had school that day, and then it turned out to be like a school in service.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, all right, guys, I guess we're going to the Capitol today. And so I literally packed hundreds of snacks, and my kids just ate the entire time.
That's amazing.
You did a great job. So thank you for being there. I think I was at the Learning Disability Summit when that was going on, but it was pretty awesome. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. We'll see you next Thursday, and we hope that you guys are here next Tuesday at 10 as well. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Have a great day.